You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show.
Hey guys, and welcome to our Once Upon a Time After Show. Bing is for doing, and that is exactly what we're doing tonight. Once Upon a Time, Season 2, Episode 2. I'm your host, Cathy Kelley, and I'm going to let my lovely co-hosts introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiona Hobson.
Good evening, and I'm Kaori Takee.
And then running the ones and twos today is...
Hello everyone, I'm Marisa Serafini.
She doesn't get to join us on our chairs today, but we're still happy to have her. So, overall thoughts of tonight's episode?
A lot of new information.
Yeah, now I'm even more drawn in and wanting to see more what's going to happen to each character.
I feel like it's the same dynamic as Lost, where you have all these questions, and before that first set of questions gets answered, you get a whole new set of questions. So it's always something to leave you guessing. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating, but it's awesome at the same time. Yeah. I hate the producers and I love them. But yeah, so jumping right into tonight's episode, we see that Storybrooke is in shambles. The Wraith has just kind of destroyed it, and everyone doesn't really want to stick around anymore. So we see all of the dwarves, the 7 dwarves, all 7 of them. Sorry.
They were reunited. That was so nice.
It's cute that they're reunited, and they draw straws to see what damage could occur if you step over the line and leave Storybrooke. And as we find out, you lose all your memory. You go back into that Storybrooke character, and you have no idea who you were in Enchanted Land.
Right.
So, what do you guys think of that twist?
I felt so bad for Sneezy. I was like, he got the short stick. He had to go out there and kind of experiment, and it was kind of scary for a minute because you didn't know what was going to happen. He just was convulsing and shaking. You know something bad has happened, and then to hear that he can't remember who he was or who he truly is kind of sad. It's like, well, I hope maybe there's a way to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that they're trying to say is that Storybrooke is its own little world, and you try to cross into reality, you become a different person. It doesn't Storybook doesn't exist in real world. I
mean, that would be really difficult to... Can you imagine all of these Storybrooke characters, like Prince Charming, Snow White, all in, like, Boston? Like, that would make absolutely no sense to me. Not that a lot of it makes sense, but it's still entertaining. But to have, these characters in everyday society just wouldn't work for this show.
Yeah. But, they said that there's no coming back to yourself. But maybe there is, so maybe we'll see Sneezy in the future.
Yeah. It seems like at the end of the episode, they were trying to find a cure or a way to revert him back to his normal self with fairy dust. Yeah. So maybe, I'm sure now that magic is back in Storybrooke, there will be some sort of solution.
Yeah, because there's kind of like a whole new set of rules for magic now. Now that it's come back to Storybrooke, like, magic isn't working the same way. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's new to everyone, including Regina. So it's like everyone kind of has to learn at their own pace exactly what they can and can't do with the magic.
Okay, this is a part of Once Upon a Time that I got a little confused about, so please clear it up if you can. But Regina used magic last week.
Yes.
Yes.
She almost killed the prince.
Yes.
And yet she didn't have powers at all. She had to get the book.
It's because magic is backwards. And I feel like the only person that truly understands magic is Rumpelstiltskin.
Mhm.
And we see that later in the episode, and we'll talk about it later. But it seems like right now, Regina is very confused on how to use magic, and she has to relearn all of her powers because it's backwards. So.
Yeah, that's what I took from it too. Like last week was kind of like an accidental thing with it, and she kind of just kept going with it.
Okay.
And then this week she just can't figure out exactly what she did to like mimic to get that feeling back again.
I think that Rumpelstiltskin, and I want to talk about this more in depth later in the episode, I think that he has powers.
Yeah.
But I think that Regina has to learn magic. Like, she has to earn it almost. Like, she's not inherently powerful. So.
I mean, she develops power.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing that we're going to see is that magic also, you inherit a lot of evil with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see how that pans out, because Regina seems like she's trying to turn.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
So one of the other things that we saw at the very beginning of the episode is that August, Pinocchio, is still wooden. And he's laying in his bed, and that's something that I want to talk about later in our after show, because it's a huge plot point, which I don't want to overlook. So, talking about Storybrooke, and it's completely destroyed. We've talked about how Regina has problems with her magic, and there were a couple things while they were, talking about rebuilding Storybrooke that I thought were kind of funny and may play into later this season. One of them is that Dr. Whale asks David, "So are the nuns off limits? Like, are they not nuns anymore? Can we date them?" That was just.
And then he goes, "Don't say it was me asking."
So I don't know if that gives us any more insight into his character, but what do you guys think?
It still is putting me towards like he's a womanizer, which we see, but I'm trying to figure out what character is kind of a ladies magnet, and right now I can't think of any, and I've been trying to research it because I'm a nerd like that.
Well, just looking at him, he's charming.
Yeah. His name's Whale, and I'm like, that's completely throwing me off right now.
The whale thing, the whale throws me off too. Like, you want to think that it's the whale in Pinocchio.
Yes.
The one that swallows Pinocchio and Geppetto. But his character, I mean, obviously he's not a whale.
Yeah.
But his character is this womanizing, I don't know.
It's hard to explain. He's so charming and smooth with the ladies.
You think he's charming?
I mean,
I
think he knows how to play it up for girls, and that's why he gets dates with people like Mary Margaret, and why Red, whose name in Storybrooke is Ruby. Yeah, Ruby, thank you. That's why they're kind of, flirty with them and stuff.
I don't think he's charming.
No?
No.
I mean, if I was in Storybrooke, that would be my choice right there.
Really? He's not my number one, but
no.
He might.
I think
he
he's
might
kind of
make
a
top
skis
five.
bag, but that's my
agree.
opinion. Marisa agrees.
Which is probably why girls would like him.
We'll see
They
what
like the bad
happens.
boys, yeah. So delving further into this episode, after they're kind of talking about rebuilding, one of the things that we see is Regina's backstory and how she and Rumpelstiltskin know each other. And it seems that Regina didn't always have power, as we were talking about earlier. Regina had to learn these powers and was actually given these powers. And her mother, we all know, is evil. Cora is just, she has magic, and it's interesting to see how pure Regina is. Going back to, when she was young, before she married the king, before she became Snow White's stepmother. And there's this series where we see Regina imagining choking Snow with a necklace. And at first, I don't know about you guys, but at first I actually thought that happened.
Yeah, me too.
I freaked out.
Yeah, but we clearly know that Snow White is alive, and this is just an evil thought that Regina had, and she was worried that she was turning into her mother. So we see that she does have a conscience. It's just maybe masked now, and we also get to learn more about Rumpelstiltskin and Regina's relationship, where we find out from Regina's dad that a mysterious man was the one who gave Cora these powers. And we find out later in the episode that that mysterious man is actually Rumpelstiltskin.
Who, I mean, who else would?
Yeah, I mean, he's the, Pandora's box.
Yeah, he's always involved in everything. But I think that it was interesting to see a little bit more into Regina and her mom's relationship, because you do see that when Regina first started out, she was kind of like Snow, innocent and pure and just, wanted to live her life. And she had all these hopes and dreams that her mom kind of, keeping her a prisoner, as to say, and turned her into this evil person.
I mean, the thing with Regina is every time I see a backstory with her, like last season and then this season, I feel really bad for her. I start feeling sympathy and I empathize for some strange reason.
I think we all do.
Yeah. And, it seems like she just fell into the wrong hands and she was battling with herself to be good. And then, her mom wasn't the best and Rumple is clearly a bad influence.
Yes.
I think maybe watching this episode, she wanted to use magic to use it for good, and it just kind of backfired because she trusted Rumple.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, especially in this episode, is that the costuming department actually helps us out a lot when figuring out when Regina is evil Regina and when she's pure Regina, because they dress her in all black during most scenes, and we've seen that throughout, this season and past season. And then when she's pure, they dress her in white.
Yeah.
And Snow is almost always in white, or when she is Mary Margaret, she's in a preppy-looking outfit.
The pink little shirt.
Exactly. But it's interesting to see Regina's progression from being this pure person into really turning into her mother and becoming evil.
Yeah, and it's funny because, she says, like, I don't want to be like you. And then that's exactly who she sort of ends up being.
Sorry to cut you off, but that's exactly what Henry says to her when she takes him in captivity, quote unquote, and he says, I don't want to be like you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what hits her. She's like, oh, snap.
That probably hit her hard.
It's a circle.
Yeah.
We all turn into our parents at some point.
Not that we have bad parents.
Well, Regina does.
Regina did.
I think one other thing to note with Regina is we all saw that she's said so many times the only person she's ever loved or ever truly loved is Daniel. And Daniel is ripped away from her by her mother. And now it seems like she genuinely loves Henry. And that's the first person that she's loved since Daniel. She says it later in the episode that she wasn't able to love for so long, but I feel like she does genuinely care for him.
Yeah.
And she wants to protect him.
I think so.
Definitely. I think she spent a lot of time as his mother in Storybrooke, and that it definitely has hit home. Like, I think that was also kind of what she wanted from even her time in Fairy Tale World when she was the evil witch. I think what she wanted was to have someone who loved her unconditionally and someone for her to love unconditionally. She found that in baby Henry.
The reason why she wanted to do this curse is so that she would have her happy ending.
Yeah.
And, it was finding love, whether it was with Daniel or with someone else. And
well, nail on the head, she says when she talks to Henry at the end of the episode, like, she doesn't really know how to love correctly. So that, I think, is very defining of what's to come.
Yeah.
Of how she's going to try to...
Yeah. She's trying... You can tell that she's trying not to repeat her mother's
deep down
cycle.
She has that conscience. And we also did see it with the grasshopper. He comes along and he says, Regina, this isn't you. You don't,
Oh, the cricket.
Dr. Hopper.
Dr. Hopper.
He wants to talk it out like a therapist would.
Yeah. So, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
But do you really think that that would be something that the producers would do, is to make her good by the end of the season?
I think so. I mean, I think that's something that I put in the predictions last week, that either Rumple or her is going to become good to, like, fight the other. And I think, one thing that's defining is that she went to Rumpel's store, and we discover that only them two know that the enchanted forest still exists. And by the end of the episode, she tells that to the Prince Charming, which means like she's giving them hope.
Yeah.
You know.
I think she's giving them hope, but I don't fully trust that she'll be good by the end of this season.
Well, someone's got to go.
Maybe by like season 6, 7.
I mean, I think part of her might help out more because she wants Henry to still love her. So if this is something Henry wants, I think she'll do anything for him. But I don't think she'll necessarily be on the good side.
Yeah.
I think she'll always have an inner battle and a struggle
Yeah.
between being good and being evil, because
I agree.
I mean, I feel like this is getting deep, but I feel like everyone kind of has that point in their life where, you know, everyone's inherently good, and then something, you know, changes them to be good or evil. Or
I think that goes with the writers, you know, and character development, because if you see in like Harry Potter, for example, we see the backstory of Voldemort and how he became, you know, the Dark Lord, or, you know, the he who must not be named.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just saying like where Regina came from and how she turned evil.
And you could also
Like-
say that about Professor Snape too.
But yeah,
That's true.
that's
Harry
true.
Potter nerd.
And
That's
he's
true.
the best.
and Rumpelstiltskin. I mean, he was
Yeah.
good. He loved his son, and then he got control of power and then became this evil force.
Yeah.
So
So if I had to choose, I'm gonna say Rumpelstiltskin would be Professor Snape, and then Regina is he who shall not.
Oh no.
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 By the end of it.
I would say it's the other way around.
I think so too.
Yeah, yeah. I think Regina has a chance.
She has a
Okay.
chance.
I think she has a chance. I think that Rumpel is past. He doesn't seem. I mean,
You don't think
we
Belle
saw-
will help?
no, we saw last season where he got rid of his son, and you know, maybe the son will be coming back, but he chose evil. He chose power and magic over his son, who was the person that he loved more than anything. And I feel like still in this season he's betrayed Belle. He doesn't live up to his word, and I don't even think, you know, his true love could turn him into a good person at this point.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's past the point of saving.
Yeah, I don't know what would turn him
Yeah.
good at all. Like, anytime you see snippets of him and his past, I don't even feel really that sorry for him.
Honestly,
to be honest.
Rumpel reminds me of the devil in that he does everything as a trade. Like the devil does things,
Right.
you know, I will give you, you know, whatever it is, everything that your heart's desired for your soul, or for something in return. And that is what Rumpel does all the time. He always gives something, but he asks for something in return. And I feel like there is no good left in him.
I think there's a little bit. I don't know if it's enough to turn him back into good, but I think I think as a viewer I see snippets of that when he last episode when Belle, like, he kind of melts a little bit, and she's like, I'm gonna be here to help you.
But he's just so calculated. Like,
Yeah.
we see even in this episode that, I mean, he's the one who gave Regina magic. He gave her the book, and he also presented her with this opportunity to banish her mother forever to another land. And he asked for something in return, knowing that down the road he would want a huge favor from Regina, which he gets in, you know,
The deal.
the deal, yeah. Being able to find out that, you know, like once they are in Storybrooke, he has all his knowledge and whatever else. But I don't know. I just don't.
That's true, because I noticed in season 1 that Mr. Gold in the real world, he would always call things arrangements, more like business kind of thing, like going off of that aspect. And then when you see Rumpel, he always calls it deals, which makes it like more gritty
That's true.
and more like on the street, kind of just dirty.
Yeah.
a bit
Yeah.
compared to arrangements in the real world.
Yeah. Well,
Something's there.
yeah. So what did you think of his arrangement or deal with Regina, where he gave her magic, he gave her the magic book, and then he also banished or helped her banish her mother?
Well, I'm kind of curious onto why he wanted her to wield magic and such power. I guess it's something that he saw in her. I think he kind of sees her as an ally somehow, even though he treats her like poo-poo.
I think he saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
To, like there was no opportunity left with her mother, because her mother was so powerful, and he saw something to gain with Regina. He saw a potential favor down the road. So
I think he also going with that, he kind of is like a fortune teller in a way where he knows what's going to happen before it happens. So he knows that Regina, I think he knew then exactly what would happen now with her. And by being like, oh, I see you could be great if you just, embraced it, kind of. He was like, you could do great things with this power, and kind of guided her down that way.
And I have a little prediction about Regina's mother. And I don't know if it's right, but I think, and I mentioned this while we were watching it, when when Cora was banished to whatever world or wherever she went, I think she was the Queen of Hearts. Just because in last season, we didn't get to see the Queen of Hearts' face, so we weren't sure who she was. She's still a mystery. And Rumple did say that she was banished to another world.
And Regina went back in the first season to
retrieve her
dad from the Queen of Hearts.
Right.
So it could all be related.
That's a good possibility.
Yeah.
That's a good prediction because, in season 1 we see Cora take out Daniel's heart, so.
Oh,
the hearts.
That's right.
And then the Queen of Hearts sees Regina as a threat as well. So.
Because they're not allowed to say her name there.
I mean, maybe like Rumple and the Queen of Hearts have a huge a battle between them, and Regina's kind of like unknowingly the puppet caught in the middle. I don't know. I feel like Rumple is a major control freak.
Yeah.
So he pretty much knows everything, tries to manipulate everything.
Yeah.
Anytime you see something powerful, he's behind it. The one thing that freaked him out in this episode was he did not know that you cross Storybrooke and he'll lose his memory.
Yeah.
He did not know, and that devastated him.
It is interesting to see little places where Rumple isn't in tune with everything, where he is caught off guard, because that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, that was kind of big.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we've ever seen him literally at a loss for words.
I was surprised he didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought he knew, but I was like,
I mean,
oh,
he knew
man.
that, the Enchanted Forest still existed. He knows everything. And when David told him, no, you lose all your memory, he was kind of like,
say what?
Like, you could literally see his heart like drop on the floor, like,
Yeah.
I can't escape this prison, like we're literally trapped here. It's like being in a jail cell all over again because they cannot leave town.
And we see that everyone now wants to leave town. They're kind of gathering in town hall, and they're talking about leaving, and they want David's opinion, I guess. They're waiting on him. In walks Regina, and she's found her power.
That was a scary moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And even more so scary because Rumple is the one who gave it back to her. He summons this magic book that he gave her originally when he gave her power, and now it seems like she has it again.
Yeah, and that was really interesting how she got it back, because she was in her garden where her tree was dying. The apples were all like black and dead, I guess.
Non-magical.
Yeah, not magical anymore. And then she kind of like blew on the page that was the tree as well.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden like her eyes get all purple and you see the magic like come back and she's like, yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Those eyes were like, oh yeah, I'm about to go get some people right now.
Yeah.
And then the tree like came back to life. So I don't know. I feel like the tree is going to be like symbolizing something else too, but I don't know what.
You know, what's interesting about Regina was that she wanted to get magic, and she kept saying this, is to get her son back.
Yeah.
And even when she went back to townspeople and she threatened them with magic a little here and there, she didn't harm them so much as she got her son back. And she could have, because she was the only one that wielded the power. So, I'm kind of hoping she goes towards the good side, because we need good powers.
Yeah, it was so cute when, she's everyone's like, what do you want? What do you want? And Henry's like, she wants me. And he just kind of like gives himself up, you know, and to see a kid 10 years old who is so aware of that kind of...
He's so much more brave than 90% of the townspeople. I
pretty
mean,
mature kid.
Yeah. I mean, you got Granny standing there with a crossbow.
Yeah,
And
that's
she's
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she took a shot, but after that, she was kind of back with the crowd, like, not really doing anything. But then a 10-year-old steps up to, like, bring momentary peace to the whole town just by him being like, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
If you promise to let everyone be okay.
Yeah. It's really brave.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about next how David finds the hat, or I mean, he has the Mad Hatter's hat, and it kind of leads him to the Mad Hatter while he's on his quest to find the Enchanted Forest. But before we do that, I want to mention that if you're not watching us on AfterBuzzTV.com or on YouTube, then you can also find us on iTunes. Just go to AfterBuzz TV. You can subscribe to our Once Upon a Time podcast. We also have over 50 other podcasts this week for different after shows. There are so many things. I do Married to Jonas. We have like 666, Revenge, Boardwalk
Scandal,
Empire. We could go
Grey's
on and
Anatomy.
X Factor.
Yeah.
X Factor.
So many different podcasts, but seriously, you should subscribe to them if you're fans of any other shows. We love bringing you all these free shows, free content. All we ask is that you just subscribe, rate, and comment, because we would love to know how we're doing. Let us know. And then also tell a friend, because that's how we get to keep on bringing you all this free content. So tell a friend, rate and comment, and it helps us out a lot.
Yeah, we read the comments.
We do.
Yes. So, the Mad Hatter. He appears.
Jefferson's
Yes.
back.
He's hot.
Yeah. So, David is on this quest to figure out whether the Enchanted Forest is still around, where Emma and Snow went, and he goes to, first he finds Jefferson, and then he actually goes to Regina's house, wielding his sword, and he asks where Henry is, to see
He's
Henry.
like, I want to see Henry.
Yes. And Regina actually is compassionate in this moment, and she says that she wants to be a good role model for Henry, and she thinks that by keeping him there, he won't want to be with her. So she wants to, she's had some experience in the past where this hasn't worked out for her. I think the quote is, if you hold on to someone too hard, they won't love you anymore.
Yeah, I quoted similar to that.
Yeah.
And then she also went on and said that she wanted to redeem herself. So she lets Henry go with David, and then the biggest thing was that David asked her up front to be honest and said, where are Emma and Snow? Does the enchanted forest actually exist? And she was honest with him and said yes.
Yes, and I don't know how to get there. And you could tell that was very genuine.
Yeah.
It was an honest moment.
She's like, I just don't know how to go back there, because at this point, kind of feel like she might even want to go back.
Yeah. Why would she want to go back?
I don't know, but it just seemed like it. She was just like, I don't know what else to do here. Everyone, we can't leave the town.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of want to, if that's okay with you guys, if we can kind of go back.
Backtrack, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit too, you were talking about Mad Hatter coming out. What do you think, might be his role coming back? Because he sounded disheveled, and he knew that there was an enchanted forest as well. So it seems like he knows more than most people, but then he doesn't have any...
Well, he does say that he's a portal jumper.
Yeah.
So he does have more knowledge of all the lands than anyone else would.
So why can't he just jump back with another hat or something to the
Because magic doesn't work
Right.
as it did before. So he has to figure out how to create this. And as we know that there isn't just two lands. There's also a third land and maybe more. They might create more.
Yeah.
But the land where Jefferson went with the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
So
the Queen of Hearts again.
Queen of
Yeah.
Hearts again.
Mm-mm.
I think it was interesting too, since we're talking about Jefferson and that whole scenario, when Henry was telling David, hey, that hat is the Mad Hatter's, and David was like, oh yeah, I know that. He's like, no, David knows that. He has memories of that from being in school.
Mhm.
That was the first time we really heard about
they remember
that
everything
they
over the
like
past
that they
20
remember
years.
growing up, because he was like, I remember those stories from school. And David, by the time they came, he was already an adult, so they have memories of like a childhood too in this world.
It's so bizarre.
And I thought that was weird how that was the first time we've really heard them talk about their childhoods in Storybrooke.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the name of the episode comes from. We are both, because they are two people.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, they're two people combined into one body.
They have two separate sets of memories but one body. And
Please try to make this show more confusing. I would love it. I mean, honestly.
That's why we watch it.
No, it's one of those shows that just keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
It honestly does.
I couldn't
like
imagine.
a-
I have a
It's
hard enough
whole
time.
Cast.
Yeah, I have a hard enough time trying to
Not
keep up
just-
with my one life. I
Yeah.
can't imagine having two separate sets of stuff.
It's not just one person; it's a whole ensemble that has like multiple identities.
I know.
And they're all awesome.
Yes.
Right.
They are. They are. So, did we get all your Mad Hatters?
Yeah, I just I just felt like we saw him on the show for such a brief period, and I
Yeah.
was like, I kind of want to see more of him, maybe because he's hot. I don't know, but
But I feel like he'll be back more too, because his whole plot point in season 1 was that he was trying to get back to his daughter when
Yeah.
she's in Storybrooke, and now that everyone has their memories back, she'll remember him now. So I feel like he'll be back more for that, and he will play a factor.
I think so too.
I mean, that might be more predictions,
I was
but
like-
he has to help them
Yeah.
get over there
I just
somehow.
He's definitely the key to getting back to the Enchanted Land, or even to the other land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just was wondering if there was anything indicative of this conversation that he had with David, and I'm just like, man, I just wanted to see more out of him, because I think he's a really interesting character that knows a lot and a little too much, that causes him to be a little
Yeah.
crazy.
And I'm sure we'll see him in future episodes, but he was
Yeah.
one of the three. I mean, Regina knew about the Enchanted Land, Rumpelstiltskin knew, and he was the only other person that knew about this, while no one else had their memory. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. We all know David's on a quest to find Emma and Snow, so
And he's so focused on that quest during this episode that he kind of forgets that he also has to be a leader to the rest of the town. Like,
Yeah.
the rest of the town is kind of looking to him as their prince to guide them. You know, what are we going to do about Regina? What are we going to do about this? And he's so focused on finding his wife and daughter, which
Yeah.
it's normal to be concerned about them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has to remember he's the leader. Like he said in the beginning of the episode, Snow did the talking, and he was all about the action. So without Snow, he's got to find a balance between the two that he just didn't quite grasp until maybe
Yeah.
like the end of the episode.
we do see that at the
Yeah.
end of the episode, where he gets on his little soapbox or car, I guess, and everyone wants to leave. No one wants to put up with Regina and have all these memories that are tainted. And they all want to leave Storybrooke and just be satisfied with having this normal life. And David's really the one that convinces him not to. He says, I will fight for you. I will protect you all. No one will die under Regina, which I don't know if he can keep that promise.
I know, I was
But,
like,
I mean, he does. He says that he will fight for them all, which is amazing. And everyone believes him, because they all turn back and no one actually leaves Storybrooke.
And I think it was interesting too that Ruby played a big part in getting him to
Yeah.
realize kind of what he needed to do for the town. She was, kind of going around like, look, they need to hear from you. They need you to go tell them to stop. They will all leave unless you go and make them stay. And so I think it's kind of showing more into her background of what a strong character she is as Red Riding Hood, because in Storybrooke she was kind of like insecure and not
Yeah.
really, that strong character.
Said the
And
exact same thing.
yeah, and so now she's kind of coming into her
but
own.
what,
again.
wasn't she kind of like as Red Riding Hood, she was kind of wimpy until she became like the half wolf.
No, she was like sneaking around with the dude.
Well, she was sneaking around, but she was always like, "Grandma, like."
But she wasn't afraid either.
Yeah.
She was like, "No, let's go kill this wolf thing because I want to, I want my boyfriend back." Yeah. She was like, "No, let's go do it. We can do it. We're two chicks. Let's go. Let's go and kill a wolf."
Yeah.
Too bad she was the wolf.
Yeah. That was a really good episode. I loved it.
Yeah. So at the very end of the episode, there are two more things that I definitely want to touch on. The first is that we see Geppetto, and he goes into August's room, where at the beginning of the episode, he was laying on that bed, and he was wood.
Yeah, and he blinked.
And now he's not there. What do you guys think happened? Like, I mean, maybe we could save that for predictions, but
I kind of feel like maybe because in the beginning of the episode, he is laying there with the eyes like still open, and you see that blink for just a second. I mean, maybe he was embarrassed that he turned back to wood because he kind of broke his promise that he made before leaving the Enchanted Forest with his dad, that he would take care of Emma and raise her and stay with her and be a good boy. And, he clearly didn't do that and turned back to wood, so maybe he's a little embarrassed now.
The only thing I could think of is he got up and left and went to go do something, which is obvious.
Yeah.
as a wooden boy or as a person boy?
I think wooden. I think wooden.
It's confusing to me.
It's
I'm sure we'll see this in the next two episodes is what I'm
Yeah.
guessing. We'll see more of August. But then the final thing is that we do finally get to see what is going on with Emma and Snow. We didn't get to see them throughout this entire episode until the last 5 minutes, I think. And they are in the Enchanted Land. They're taken captive by Mulan and Aurora, brought back to this refuge where other characters are living, taking solace in this destroyed land. And they try to run away, unsuccessful. And then they're put in a pit. And the final thing that we see is Korra is also in the pit.
That was a surprise because I did not see
know.
that coming at all. I was like, wait, what are you doing here? Why? Like, how long has she been there? Is that where Regina sent her? I mean, there's just so many questions that come up when you see her down there.
Like, do all portals lead there or something?
It puts a kibosh on my idea that she's the Queen of Hearts, but
unless they kidnapped her and put her in the pit before the curse came. But
here's someone who has magical powers that has somehow become a captive in this refuge camp, this camp.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether she's just like trying to like lay down low until she's gonna explode somehow, but definitely there's gonna be a war between Regina and her. It's gonna be really interesting.
I really want to know whether Korra still has powers.
Yeah,
because
that'll be interesting because when Regina kind of pushed her thing, Rumpelstiltskin kind of made it seem to me a little bit that wherever she would send Korra would be like, she can't harm you there, so maybe there's no magic there. Because that was the one way that Korra was able to really harm Regina was with magic. If she didn't take the magic away, she really couldn't do much to hurt her.
Then I think that she went to the other world and she was the Queen of Hearts. And then somehow when this curse came, those two worlds combined and they took her as a prisoner.
I think that that somehow she knows that Snow White and Emma, who they are, and she's gonna find a way to manipulate and get back at her own daughter or Rumpelstiltskin. Maybe she still loves her daughter and she's going to be like, oh, you didn't know, whatever.
There's our third evil person you wanted.
You know?
Yeah.
We thought it might be Dr. Whale, but I mean, it's Korra. She's back.
Yeah, Korra's back.
And in a big way.
Dr. Whale might be just like simple comic relief or like snippets of like, who is this guy? And that's all he could be in this season. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. But I think it's also interesting that, because when they tried to escape, Snow White clearly got knocked out. So Emma's the first one to see Korra.
Yeah.
And when Snow White wakes up, like clearly she would know.
She knows who
She
Cora
has
is.
to
Yeah.
know. And at this point, because she
right.
was a little girl, she also must know that, she wasn't the best mom to Regina. She knows exactly
Well,
who she is, so
Right.
there's not that
Right.
element of surprise for Snow and Emma now, because as soon as Snow wakes up,
like,
she'll be able
"Oh,
to be
snap,
like, "Oh
it's
wait,
you."
you Regina's mom."
It's you.
And I was gonna say that we know that Snow, that Regina told Snow that her mom was not trustful, or that she killed Daniel, but she didn't, because that was just Regina's imagination.
Yeah.
So Snow might not know how awful a person Cora is.
That's true.
She might have to find out.
She might have to find out by putting her
dun.
trust in the wrong person.
This is a web of confusion.
Confusion and lies.
It was a good episode, though.
It was.
Good
There-
episode.
As I said, a lot more questions. Hopefully we'll get answers soon.
But I love that they gave us more backstory to understand.
I think any Regina episode is good. I like her. She's a beautiful woman, and I really think that like she's gonna become good somehow, somewhere. It's gonna be like a season of like back and forth, back
Yeah.
and forth. But
Maybe they'll come together for a common goal to defeat Cora. If
Yeah.
Cora ever comes back to power.
I think the person to fear more than Cora is Rumpelstiltskin.
Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean he's the one that hooked up Cora with her powers.
True.
So
Okay.
Have to figure out what Rumpelstiltskin is up to, because he hooked up Cora and Regina. So you linked in a mother and a daughter for a reason. Emma still owes him a favor. What favor is he gonna ask?
I'm
of her
sure
at
a
this
lot of
point?
other
Yeah, it's
people
like,
owe him favors too.
there's just so much stuff that he still has, like people indebted to him.
Yes.
That I don't see how anyone could defeat him necessarily right now. So they're all gonna have to come together to defeat someone else first.
Let's save this all for predictions. Okay, moving on to news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Have that. Okay, so we saw in the little season teaser for season 2 that they are introducing, spoiler alert in case you haven't seen it,
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Captain Hook will be coming.
And Lancelot.
Yeah, and Lancelot. So in Captain Hook news, Colin O'Donoghue, who's going to be playing him, just got picked up as a season regular for the back 9. His episodes haven't even aired yet.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, a little out there. Like, they don't usually pick you up for a whole series. as a
Unless
series.
they
unless
know where it's
really-
going.
Yeah, and so Adam Horowitz and Edward Kitsis, the creators, both said that the work he's doing as Captain Hook and what he's bringing to the role is just so amazing that they're excited to sort of bring more of his story and have him involved. So there goes another sort of evil character, or bad guy, that they're introducing into the whole storyline now. So we have another...
I wonder if that crocodile's going to be there.
Yeah.
Or Tinkerbell or Peter Pan. All of them.
Yeah, so that was...
Any other news?
No, that's about it. This slow week for news.
For Once Upon a Time news? Okay. Well, moving on to predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I feel like there's always so much to predict with this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what happened to August. I want to know.
The guy from the beginning of last week's episode in New
That's
York.
that's what I was gonna say. How is this?
Yeah.
Are we not gonna find out about him until the end of the season?
That's actually something that draws me into the Mad Hatter, because that guy in his sign in his apartment, it said Mad Hatter behind.
Yeah.
So I think that we're gonna see him again, and he's tied to the Mad Hatter, and somehow like the hat is gonna be a really big play to be a portal in and out of
Yeah.
the land.
Yeah.
I was reading, I believe it, I think someone said in like YouTube that this mysterious New Yorker, he might be like Peter Pan or someone, because Peter Pan was is a person who can go in between two realms.
Ah.
But he's a boy, not a man.
Yeah, he might have
got
got like stuck.
Yeah.
He never
And
grows
grew
up.
up.
So, exactly.
Oh.
He
Got
might have
stuck
got
over here.
Stuck or
Smart
something.
YouTube comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I thought that was interesting. I really don't know either.
Yeah.
So,
I really want to see. This isn't a prediction, more as a something that I just want to see. Is The Little Mermaid. That was one of my favorite
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, me
favorite
too.
growing
Yeah.
up. So
Love it.
And
Yeah.
in season 1, they kind of made a hint at bringing her in. It was when Belle was at the house with Rumpelstiltskin and Regina comes in and is like, "Oh, I need your help with this pesky mermaid."
Oh.
But that's all
yeah.
she says, and then Rumpel's like depressed because he had sent Belle off to
Yeah, right.
leave. But I mean, they kind of hinted at it, so
I'm sure we'll get all of them at some point.
yeah.
Every
hopefully.
single Disney story ever, plus some. Maybe some other Grimm story, Brothers
Yeah.
Grimm. Maybe some Hans
I actually
Christian
bought the
Andersen.
Brothers Grimm book, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be reading up on all these fairy tales. this
Brothers
week.
Grimm is really good. If you got
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
Hans
after the show.
Christian Andersen too.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah, I also got Mother Goose.
Mother Goose.
Yeah.
Oh. You got them all, girl. Okay. Well, in the meantime, if people want to chat with you about Once Upon a Time throughout the week, how can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at tweet22 TWEETEE22.
And you can find me on Twitter at KAORIOUS. That's Kaorius.
Marissa, where can they find you?
I am at Marisa Movies. That's MARISA Movies.
And you can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelley, CATHERINE. Kelly is KELLEY. So, for
Sweet.
everyone here at AfterBuzz TV, thanks for joining us, and make sure to tune in to another episode of Once Upon a Time next Sunday night.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.